After the end of the 13th chairman selection arc of Hunter x Hunter, Gon is no longer the main character because the arc that follows it has a whole continent be its main protagonist, as we enter the Dark Continent Expedition, where it turns out that the Hunter x Hunter world that we know of is actually just a tiny portion of the entire map, with the known world being just a collection of islands inside a giant lake known as Lake Mobius, which itself is inside a larger landmass called the Dark Continent. This land's existence was kept secret from the general public by the V5, which are a coalition of the world's strongest and most influential nations. These guys banned any expeditions to the Dark Continent because of the overwhelming dangers it could pose. As in the past, when humanity has attempted to explore the Dark Continent, almost all of these efforts ended in failure, with only a few survivors like Netero or Killua's great-grandpa, meaning that's the level of strength and skill one needs to survive here. Because, you know, the Chimera ants that almost ended the known world, well, when ranked amongst the creatures of the Dark Continent, they are a merely B-tier threat. That's why Netero had banned all travel to this landmass, but since Netero's death against Miriam, a wrench was thrown into the entire world order due to his son Beyond Netero allying himself with the Kakin Empire, a rising power in the known world who seeks to challenge the V5's authority. Together with Beyond Netero pulling the strings from the background, King Nasubi of Kakin announces to the world the existence of the Dark Continent and their intent to explore it, with the main goal of expanding Kakin's influence and power by literally creating an outpost or a colony on the continent. So it's not merely a few hunters being sent there to explore like other nations have done in the past. If you guys want a deeper dive into the goings of the Dark Continent, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Right now though, all you have to know about is the Black Whale, which is a colossal ship capable of carrying 200,000 people. And if you want to be on this ship, well, good luck, because tickets were obtained through a lottery system, with your chance of getting in being tinier than even finding a girlfriend at 1 in 1300. Yet this didn't stop the public from going absolutely berserk because of the riches and opportunities that were promised by this new landmass. For example, just look at this rock that can power an entire American home for a whole year, or literal immortality, which means that hunters were quite interested as well, especially since the Zodiacs are the ones tasked with overseeing the entire expedition. But they aren't too thrilled about it, because Isaac Netero, who had been to the continent, knew the immense danger it could pose, with each expedition in the past bringing with them a curse that could destroy the whole known world. Meanwhile, Netero's son Beyond was waiting for his father's death to come out from the shadows so he could lead this expedition, where he has a personal vendetta against the current world order of the V5 and a burning desire to go beyond Netero. With his ambitions perfectly aligned with the Kakin, it's a match made in heaven, but Beyond's involvement adds a bit of a conflict with the chosen Zodiacs of Netero, who do not with this man and don't want to work together. The main difference being that the Zodiacs, led by Cheeto, are determined to keep Beyond Netero in check and to prevent any harm from befalling the world due to the expedition. Meanwhile, Beyond seeks not just to explore the Dark Continent, but to claim it, to conquer the unconquerable, and to establish a new world order with him at its helm. His vision is one of power and dominance, where the strong rule over the weak and the impossible is made possible through sheer will and determination. He sees the Dark Continent as the ultimate proving ground, a place where only the strongest will survive and thrive. Beyond kind of used a 500 IQ strategy to beat the Hunter faction that sees the Dark Continent as too dangerous. Basically, the V5 had commissioned the Zodiacs to apprehend him before Beyond and Kakin do more damage to the world order. But instead, bro just phoned Beans and said, "Hey yo, pick me up, put me in one of the good prison cells." As Beyond is detained, Cheeto interviews him, where he confidently says that he will be freed and the hunters will join this expedition, which ended up going just as he planned, because public pressure to explore the riches of the Dark Continent outweighed the will of the upper echelons of power amongst the V5, where now they are forced to accept Kakin as part of the new V6 organization and sanction their expedition to the Dark Continent. But the Hunter Association will act as a supervisor to all of the actions taken by the expedition team once they reach the landmass. Meanwhile, Beyond will stay detained aboard the Black Whale 1. However, Beyond's team is still acting on their own, with Jing and Pariston both being part of it. While Pariston was already working alongside Beyond, Jing had only just popped into Netero's base to join the expedition, where one of his secondary objectives was to thwart Pariston's plan. Jing reveals that he knows full well what Beyond and Pariston are planning if the Hunter Association doesn't agree to their expedition request, and that is to unleash 5,000 Nen-using Chimera ants to take the Hunter exam and win any type of vote, gaining absolute authority. However, neither Jing's clout nor predicting Pariston helps win the favor of the crew so that Jing can become the number 2 of the expedition. A month or so passes with preparations at full swing, until some temp hunters arrive and announce that neither Jing nor Pariston would be included in the command chain, as they insist one of them has to leave the expedition. But Jing being Jing, he proposes a third option. The assassins should leave instead. Pariston counters by suggesting that the assassins should be eliminated. In response, Mujer, the leader, orders his assassins to shoot at both Jing and Pariston, prompting them to flee, which results in Jing demonstrating his Nen by using Leorio's remote punch technique to strike their attackers. He further utilizes his aura to generate an ultrasound, enabling him to detect enemies in the vicinity. This tactic allows him to locate and incapacitate the remaining henchmen, after which Pariston theorizes that their foes must have fled. Jing, however, corrects him, explaining that the entire scenario was orchestrated by Pariston himself. Jing had deduced this when one of the temp hunters failed to mention the option of both Jing and Pariston leaving together. This showcases a complete triumph over Pariston, but Jing shifts his focus to the inadequacies of the group, stating that they are ill-equipped for the challenges of the Dark Continent, as he has read his ancestor Don Freaks' book about the eastern shore of the Dark Continent and knows just how dangerous the area truly is. As the team is right now, they're about to get clapped. However, if Jing becomes the number 2 and leads them, then everything will be fine. And if they do decide to side with Jing as the number 2, they will all get double what Beyond is offering in terms of money, which of course the soldiers agree to, making Jing the number 2 once they reach the Dark Continent, right behind Netero for the group. Meanwhile, the Zodiacs are also beefing themselves up by reaching out to Leorio and offering him a position amongst the Zodiacs due to his growing popularity within the Hunter community. Initially, Leorio declined. Zystorm soon approached Kurapika, who was initially wary but agreed to join after learning that the Scarlet Eyes of his clan were in possession of Saradnik Huigyoro, the 4th prince of the Kakin Empire. Driven by his personal vendetta and desire to protect his people's legacy, Kurapika accepted the offer. At the Hunter Association meeting, Cheeto briefed the Zodiacs on the transformation of the V5 to the V6. Their mission aboard the Black Whale 1 would be daunting, as they were to travel to the Dark Continent and deal with Beyond Netero. Kurapika, now the rat member of the Zodiacs, raised some concerns about potential spies within the association working for Beyond. During the 289th Hunter exam, Kurapika employed his dowsing chain to root out Beyond's followers and spies, asserting himself as a powerful player aboard the Black Whale 1. But as he steps aside to take a call, he learns of a way for him to infiltrate the royal family and gain access to the 4th prince by becoming a bodyguard. To maximize his chances of getting close to 4th Prince Saradnik, Kurapika recruits Basho, Biscuit, Hanzo, Izunavi, and Melody, instructing each to apply as a bodyguard to one of the 6 available princes. He informs the group that his goal is either to be in close proximity to the 4th prince or to gather information that would help him do so, and leaves the approach up to the rest of them. Kurapika analyzes the details of each listing, considering considering factors such as the first to post, the highest pay, and the willingness to interview. By aligning these details with the known personalities of the princes, he concludes that a mature and confident prince would best suit his goals, which narrows his focus to two listings, one with the highest compensation and another that remained unchanged. Kurapika suspects these listings might be associated with 9th Prince Hulkenberg given the character traits they reflect, so he decides to apply, quickly receiving a response with the interview detail. Later that day, Kurapika arrives at the interview location at a Kakin Empire owned hotel, only to discover that his prospective employer is Queen Oito, the mother of 14th Prince Wabble, who is still a baby. Queen Oito reveals that she had been posing as Hulkenberg to attract someone capable of discerning her listing's details as his. Here, she reveals the true nature of the succession war, a deathmatch where only one prince will survive. The superior princes from 1 to 4 have their own private forces, while the younger or less influential princes hire last-minute bodyguards to level the playing field. After explaining the situation, Queen Oito offers Kurapika a choice: accept her request for tenfold compensation or reject it, keeping the details a secret in exchange for the original compensation. Kurapika agrees to her terms on the condition that she helps him get close to 4th Prince Saradnik, so they reach an agreement. The employers of the other hunters recruited by Kurapika are also revealed. Izunavi is hired by 6th Prince Tyson, Biscuit by 13th Prince Mariam, Basho by 7th Prince Luzurus, Melody by 10th Prince Kacho, and Hanzo by 12th Prince Momoze. However, if Kurapika is on the Black Whale 1, you gotta have the Phantom Troop on board too, right? Because, you know, the amount of riches these thieves can steal from the Kakin royal family, that is immense. It'll be Christmas in Meteor City when they get back. So the entire Phantom Troop has decided to get on board the Black Whale 1. However, before departing, we get to see one of the greatest battles in manga history, with Chrollo fighting Hisoka at Heaven's Arena, where Chrollo was constantly exploiting his many bookmarked abilities, putting Hisoka in the back foot almost— holy shit, this is hard. Where Chrollo was constantly exploiting his many bookmarked abilities, putting Hisoka in the back foot almost throughout the fight, especially when using the Sun and Moon Nen ability, which lets Chrollo place explosive seals on objects and people. Couple that with Black Voice borrowed from Shalnark and Gallery Fake of Kurtopi, Chrollo is a menace, where in this fight it's stated that Hisoka isn't on a 1v1 but is getting jumped by Chrollo in his borrowed abilities. Although Chrollo's strategy revolved around overwhelming Hisoka with sheer numbers and unpredictability, using a combination of explosive puppets and controlled humans, Hisoka responds with his Bungee Gum, which, say it with me, possesses the properties of both rubber and gum. He uses it to evade attacks, set traps, and counter Chrollo's clones and bombs. Despite Hisoka's efforts, Chrollo's strategic approach keeps him one step ahead, constantly adapting and repositioning himself. As the fight progresses, Chrollo places explosive seals on various items around the arena, including Hisoka's clones and the floor, creating a minefield. Hisoka, however, manages to attach Bungee Gum to Chrollo's clones and even the arena itself to swing around and maneuver through the traps. As he attempts to close the distance multiple times, aiming for close quarter combat where he excels over Chrollo, just never succeeds. The turning point of the battle comes when Chrollo uses Sun and Moon's explosive seals on Hisoka directly, causing lethal damage, and he suffocates from the weight of the puppets on top of him. Despite his defeat, Hisoka's defiant Nen still lingers, where his post-mortem Nen activates and Bungee Gum literally restarts his heart. Now, realizing that to defeat Chrollo he must destroy the legs of the spider first, Hisoka immediately kills Shalnark and Kurtopi, making sure Chrollo doesn't have the two abilities he used to kill Hisoka. Fun fact is that their battle was to the death, but since both are still alive, the entire world, or rather the Black Whale 1 ship, is Hisoka and Chrollo's battlefield now, as I have a theory that Hisoka is actually Illumi aboard the Black Whale ship. While we get ready to board this ship, let's check in on what's happening with the Kakin Empire, where after Beyond's broadcast to the world, a deeper conspiracy is afoot within the royal family. And it all starts with the 4th Prince Saradnik getting a call from his older brother, 1st Prince Benjamin. He reveals to his little bro that King Huigiro has agreed to their terms, and the sole survivor of the voyage to the Dark Continent will be crowned the next king of Kakin. Hearing this, Saradnik is ecstatic. He is busted nuts, thinking about killing his siblings, but he isn't the only one with aura, because this dude Benjamin's introduction has him fighting a goddamn lion. However, Saradnik isn't far behind, as his introduction has him literally dismember and kill prostitutes for the sake of art. TLDR, these princes are freaky on that Diddy level, which makes sense considering how they were raised by their father, King Nasubi. The dude can put on an enthusiastic facade as seen when announcing the possibility of traveling to the Dark Continent, but this is all cap. In truth, Nasubi seems to be cold-hearted to the point of being ruthless. Bro has 8 legal wives and 14 legitimate children. All his queens are stated to have no ranking, but that's only officially stated. In reality, the higher ranking wife has control over the guards protecting the lower ranking wife. Each prince has a ranking as well according to their time of birth. For example, Prince Benjamin is the oldest and the first choice to become king, while Prince Wobble is still an infant and is the least preferred prince to become the ruler. If having your infant son fight in an IRL battle royale wasn't bad enough, King Nasubi was so cruel that he constructed 14 graves for his children way before the succession war even began, mimicking Kurapika bringing the shovel during his fight against Uvogin. But wait, if 13 princes are to be killed out of the 14 with one coming out as the king, then who will occupy the 14th grave? Well, it's gonna be King Nasubi himself. That's right, he stated to his 9th son Hulkenberg that his fate is sealed after finishing an unknown duty that seems to be crucial for the succession. Moreover, the ancient laws of succession provide a more simple cause for Nasubi's death. After accepting the throne, an emperor often does not step down from power. Consequently, for the winner of the succession war to legitimately assume Nasubi's role, it is necessary for him to have died before the competition's conclusion. If none of the princes produce any offspring, the kingdom would pass by equal birthright to the lone surviving member of the royal family during the succession war. And of course, the previous Kakin ruler being MIA further support this point. In Kakin culture, every child was born with the ritualistic obligation of killing their siblings in order to succeed their father. Nasubi instilled in them that anyone raised not to have the desire to become king will not be his child and will be given the death penalty. This would develop a sociopathic mindset in a child due to the fact that retaining power is the sole reason for survival. This is highlighted in Wobble's mother's explanation of the war and their upbringing to Kurapika. She states that a mother to one of the princes must conduct herself as royalty. Their sole purpose in life is to raise the princes who will inherit the throne later. However, only some princes seem to have been raised with this knowledge from an early age, like Benjamin or Saradnik, but others like 9th Prince Hulkenberg got to know about the contest after the seed urn ceremony. It's just too late. But as if the battle royale wasn't brutal enough, many of the princes are literal kids. But the succession war could not be started before every prince participated in the seed urn ceremony. It is a Kakin royal family tradition where the host offers a drop of their blood to the urn and then puts their hand in its mouth like opening. Following this, a Nen beast who is invisible to the naked eye emerges from the urn. She feeds an egg to the prince, which hatches into a guardian Nen beast that even Nen using princes cannot see. After the seed urn ceremony, each royal prince has become possessed by a guardian spirit, which are ancient Nen beasts created by the ancestors of the Kakin royals at the time of their death. These beasts are creatures formed out of Nen, and they are parasitic in nature. It feeds on the aura of its host body, aka the prince's aura, to gain energy. Their primary role is to protect their respective hosts against any sort of harm, be it bullets or even Nen abilities. However, they cannot attack other Nen beasts or other hosts directly. Each of the 14 princes has a different guardian Nen beast. The abilities and appearance of the beast are highly influenced by the host character's personality. So the more unpleasant the prince's personality, the more obscene and threatening their beast is. These beasts These are no joke because they are conjured up using the post-mortem Nen of the first king of Kakin, who also created the seed urn, which in turn is inspired by worm toxins, and the succession war, according to him, is the correct use of the urn. This means that succession contests have been going on for a very long time. We know Nasubi participated in his own succession war due to the presence of his Nen beast, as well as a comment by Oyor Longbao. Since the war is kept secret amongst the participants, it's more than likely that the previous ones were covered up as well. According to Chido, Kakin changed from social imperialism to parliamentary democracy in the most silent revolution in history 30 years ago. This means that the prior succession wars were also kept hidden using these silent revolutions, which would likely have involved several royal assassinations in place of an all-out war. And the timing also makes sense. If Nasubi was in his late 20s back then, I believe the eldest princes are at this time right now, that would make him be in his late 50s at the time of the current succession war. We know keeping the succession war a secret is a big deal for the Kakin Empire, to the extent that it has been constantly restated in the manga. However, the war can come to a close if one person withdraws from the succession battle, making the Nen beasts to disappear and collapsing the risk-reward trade. I'll explain more about this later. The second reason is the successor to Nasubi stops sharing the same aspirations as the first king of Kakin, i.e. continuing this cycle of war amongst his descendants. Basically, whoever is chosen king, if they drop out, they don't want to fuck with the succession bullshit anymore, the whole thing collapses. And it's quite possible that the next king would finally put an end to this cycle, as honestly, my bets are on Wobble to win. Like, Kurapika is defending him. Ain't no way bro is not gonna win. However, King Nasubi, he already has a backup plan for this, because the black whale will ultimately sink and be destroyed, as foreshadowed here. Nasubi also refers to the ship's 200,000 passengers as sacrifices because he plans to kill all of them, including himself, his queens, and the 13 princes. This is all to provide a perfect cover-up for the succession war and to seal the deal with the Hunter Association of dropping the royalty and passengers to a fake Dark Continent island, while the Zodiacs, Beyond's group, and the respective allies like Jing move on to the real thing. The Black Whale itself is divided into 5 levels or tiers, with passengers occupying each tier according to their wealth and social class. Those traveling in the first and second tiers are the wealthiest passengers on board, including the royal family and prominent members of the upper class and their staff, while the lower 3 tiers are zoned for general passengers like you. But you know, if you want to become a VIP, get up to the top tiers, then become a patron or a member of the channel. Like, if you're a patron or a member of the channel, all 4 of us, we are doing these mini chapter reviews whenever we don't cover a chapter. Like, I didn't cover chapter 1127, so I recorded myself reading the chapter when it came out and gave like a mini 15-minute review of my thoughts on the chapter. Similarly, Harrison did that for Kaiju number 8, and I'm gonna be doing more of Blue Lock and even Hunter x Hunter. So please become a member or a patron. It helps us out a ton. Shueisha is still striking our videos, so honestly, huge help. Thank you, everyone. Finally, we have one day before we set sail to the Dark Continent, with the king and VIPs first making their way into the ship after a long glazing parade. Inside, only the first and second tiers of the ship are considered hunting grounds for the succession war by Benjamin's guards, where they are simply guards, not soldiers, during the entire trip, unless of course the first prince commands them to be on assault mode. Each prince has their own living quarters where they will spend their entire days on. However, every Sunday they will have to venture out to attend a dinner banquet where dignified VIPs will be present, but they will be leaving their quarters on different times so as to not pass each other in the hallways and give another a chance to game end the other. The battle royale is one of being discreet and basically assassinating your siblings without the others knowing who did it, because to rule a country you need a sense of covertness. On the other hand, Kurapika's job is to make sure Queen Oito and the infant Prince Wobble are safe and secure, so they will find a way to avoid getting entangled in the succession war. He asks if it's possible to contact other queens and princes using the phones, but turns out the lower ranked wives cannot reach out to the higher ones, meaning they're completely on their own. No alliances, nothing for the time being. All of this is quite puzzling to Oito, as the king using the separation and the military has made it nigh impossible for the princes to interact. which they would need to do to kill one another, right? Well, Kurapika knows that it's not the case because using Nen users and their limitless possibilities, even isolated princes can be targeted, and that's one of the proficiencies being tested by the king here. Furthermore, each of the guards for the princes were screened by the Hunter Association and given provisional licenses. However, the ones hired by the Kakin Empire were kept in the dark about the upcoming mission, so Kurapika and the gang couldn't use his truth-seeking chains to get more info out of them. So there are 150 hunters operating in tier 1 with their own hidden agendas. There are too many variables at play here, making things difficult, especially since Kurapika's attention is also divided into getting to 4th Prince Radnik. But things get even worse for the hunters as Mizai Storm calls to inform Kurapika of escalating crime on tier 3 and 4 of the ship. Turns out Kakin does not care about all the bozos in the lower tiers, so they came fully unprepared. They got no doctors present in tier 5, and there's looting, thieving, all sorts of riots going down. It's mayhem. But Kurapika thinks about using this chaos to their advantage. So he asks Queen Oito about sneaking to the lower general public floors once a fire or riot breaks out, causing the gate between tier 2 and 3 to open. This act will eventually increase their chances of survival. Oh, yeah, they can't do that. Yeah, no riot breaks out, at least now. But before that comes to fruition, the ship starts, beginning our voyage. The first 3 weeks of this voyage will be spent exiting the known world waters, and the final 5 weeks will involve dangerous weather and encounter with flying creatures, which means that the ship's upper dome will have to stay shut. After the 5 weeks, the general passengers and the Kakin royal family will head towards a piece of land known as the New Continent, while the hunters, Zodiacs, Beyond, and Jing will move on to the real Dark Continent with the help of the gatekeepers. A staging base will be managed by Nov to transport resources and people to and from the Dark Continent, while the transportation itself will be handled by another hunter named Tokarine. Meanwhile, my man Beyond is just chilling on his cell being watched over by 3 Zodiacs. It's here that we learn that the Labyrinth City is the destination we'll be exploring in the Dark Continent first. That is the place where you can find the herb that can cure over 10,000 illnesses. Also the spot where the curse known as Brionne, who is ranked at tier A, is found. This Brionne thing is even stronger than the Chimera ants. In other areas of the ship, Leorio is assisting Cheadle with organizing medical supplies in a central clinic on tier 3, while Botobai sits in the courthouse and Mizai Storm speaks to Kakin Royal Army officials on tier 4. However, tragedy strikes on tier 1 when Wobo's guard Woody is found dead in the bathroom. His body is drained of blood and riddled with holes, prompting Kurapika to suspect a Nen attack, so he confronts the 3 temp hunters present, discovering that they were unaware of the true situation behind the succession war, meaning Pariston withheld this information from them, or the rat doesn't know himself. In the banquet hall on tier 1, Kakin's royalty and high society celebrate the voyage's commencement. First Prince Benjamin, filled with hatred for his siblings, longs for their death. As princes begin to leave the banquet, Kacho, the 10th prince, and Fugetsu, the 11th prince, who are twin sisters, attempt to exit together, but are told they must leave separately. Despite Kacho's outwardly demanding nature, she reassures her sister that they will work together to kill the other princes and survive the succession war. And when they are the only 2 remaining, she will convince the king to spare them both. So we are already seeing alliances and games being crafted amongst the princes. Later, Kurapika comes across 4 more dead guards in the same condition as Woody. Realizing the danger, he swiftly exercises his second amendment and starts talking to the remaining guards. He warns that if any of them lies, his dowsing chains will move and bro will shoot. And it turns out that the bodyguards and servants were unaware of the succession war going on between the princes. Only 2 guards confessed that they knew about it and weren't even loyal to Prince Wobo to begin with. Kurapika asks if the 5 dead guards were also not aligned with Prince Wobo, confirming that the higher ranked queens placed their own spies among Oito's guards, as she's the lowest ranked queen. The guards clarify that despite the succession war, they will still follow the rule of law and blah blah blah, they won't assassinate the prince. Okay bro, calm down. They were unaware of the danger until Woody's death. Oh my god. Succession war. Oh, I don't want to die. The guards then ask if Wobo participated in the seed urn ceremony, suspecting it is the source of the Nen abilities. Oito, since she doesn't know anything about Nen or anything, she said, nah, that can't happen. How can this infant little boy have such abilities? But Kurapika is smarter than that and thinks that this might actually be Wobo's doing. He speculates that Wobo could be targeted because he's the youngest prince. One guard argues that Wobo couldn't have developed Nen abilities in just a month, but another one, Bill, suggests that if the Nen is parasitic, it is possible. Suddenly, the room fills with guardian spirit beasts calling over the restrained guards. Kurapika realizes they are from the seed urn ceremony and confirms this with his fellow hunters. Afterward, Serid, a bodyguard, stabs the restrained guards while in a trance, claiming he was compelled by the Nen beast, leading Kurapika to stop him from attacking Bill. Bill says that Serid's ability isn't good enough to help them with an escape from the succession war, so he can be disposed of. However, Kurapika sees potential in the ability and uses his steel chain, inserting a syringe into Serid's chest to temporarily take his ability, placing him in a Zetsu-like state to deprive the parasite of its food source. Bill expresses concern about Serid's vulnerability, but Kurapika emphasizes that Wobo and Oito's safety comes first. Suddenly, a small creature crawls out of Serid's ear and escapes. Kurapika, using Emperor Time, activates Stealth Dolphin to analyze Serid's ability, Little Eye, which controls small creatures but can't affect Nen conjured things. Kurapika interrogates this bodyguard, who explains that the creature bugged him until he lost control of his body. The royal army arrives and Serid is taken away with his ability still in Kurapika's syringe. Two servants, overwhelmed, ask to quit, leaving Wobo and Oito with only 2 guards and 2 servants just hours after the Black Whale's departure. It is then revealed that the Nen beast which ordered Serid to go on his murderous rampage was 12th Prince Momose's rat Nen beast, whom we see is gentle and kind, listening to her mother to give up her own bodyguards to keep her brother safe as she knits him a sweater. This is a huge mistake, as her only remaining guards are the ones chosen by the higher-up queens. Furthermore, it isn't through her own will that Momose's Nen beast left her to order Serid. It turns out she herself is puzzled as to why she's so tired today, revealing to us that these Nen beasts do whatever they want as long as they're keeping their masters safe. Elsewhere, 9th Prince Hulkenberg attends a banquet and tells his father he wishes to withdraw from the succession war. His Cyclops-like Nen beast is visible on his shoulders as he expresses that he never desired a bloody contest, only joining to show respect. Surprisingly, the king permits him to do as he pleases, smiling in response. But just as Hulkenberg leaves the king to go back to his quarters, Bro is stunned to find out his bodyguards are dead on the floor, meaning he has no choice but to fight in order to survive. The main challenge in dealing with these Nen beasts is that they are often formed based on the host's thoughts and emotions, leading to the first 5 princes to have beasts which are really powerful, as they have a strong desire for battle and conquest. Understanding this, 5th Prince Tubepa approaches 4th Prince Saradnik for an alliance, as she recognizes that the lower ranked princes either lack the will or ability to fight, while the top 3 princes have severe character flaws. Honestly, this dude kinda dumb, bro. He doesn't realize that Saradnik is the worst of them all. His hunter bodyguard Theta certainly is not a dumbass, and she does understand how much of a threat the 4th prince is after being confronted with Saradnik's Nen beast, which absolutely just stuns her, putting the fear of God inside of her. The only thing she can think of is that she needs to do everything in her power to make sure Saradnik doesn't become proficient in Nen, because this guy could literally bring doom to the entire world with his powers and twisted mind. Furthermore, 7th Prince Lazarus and 6th Prince Tyson also learn about their Nen and their Nen beast, but Tyson is just busy gooning over his pookies to even care about the battle. Back at the banquet, 2nd Prince Camilla demands that her father make sure only biological death means a prince dropping out from the succession war, to which the king throws a curveball, stating that the last surviving prince will be the official successor. How that is interpreted is part of the contest. Now, this is a huge hint to how the succession war might end. Wobo might become the prince who wins, with a lot of the lower ranked prince surviving. There is a possibility of a good ending, alright? Not everyone needs to die, but Kurapika is definitely dying. I'll get to that later. Furthermore, here we get to see a better personality from Camilla, who wants the siblings to kill each other voluntarily for her, to which Benjamin shows off his aura, and Camilla doesn't even care. As the prince walks away, he vows to kill every one of his brothers and sisters as soon as possible and stands as the sole guardian of the Kakin dynasty. After leaving the banquet, Benjamin orders his lieutenant Balsamilko to bring his brother, the fourth prince, so he can kill him personally. However, for that, Balsamilko informs Benjamin about the guardian Nen beasts, leaving him momentarily stunned. Though Benjamin can use Nen, he is baffled by his inability to see the Nen beasts. Balsamilko hypothesizes that the beasts may be linked to specific conditions or limitations within the succession ceremony. He cautions Benjamin to remain patient, warning him that acting alone is dangerous due to his inability to see the Nen beasts. He further explains that after the emergency call by Kurapika, it exposed Nen and Nen beasts to the other princes. Basically, they lost their advantage. The hunters, Balsamilko adds, are highly knowledgeable in Nen, and their abilities pose a serious threat. Still, the lack of information about Kakin's internal workings gives Benjamin a tactical edge. And you know that call Kurapika put to basically all the princes screaming about what the fuck is the Nen beast in my room? That was a tactical move too, because this reveal of this newfound power, which could pose a threat, has caused a stalemate between pretty much all the players of the succession war, because nobody wants to make the first move without gathering some information. So this buys the weakest and the youngest Prince Wobble some time to act. So due to this, the first prince instead orders his soldiers to infiltrate the other prince's quarters under the guise of royal guards to gather intelligence on the hunters and Nen beasts. As Benjamin's men approach the other princes, the offsprings of the first queen makes the first four princes ranking high enough that they can refuse his men joining their ranks. The reason Benjamin can just turn his men into royal guards is because he is the deputy military advisor. Using this pretense, Saradnik refuses the guards as he is busy focusing on his Nen training. However, the 14th prince and Kurapika aren't so lucky, as Benjamin's man Vincent pops at the front door, killing one of the guards, Sandra, instantly in the name of self-defense. At this moment, Kurapika realizes that he isn't here to spy for the first prince, but is an assassin. Like, it's been a few hours since they started the succession war, bro. Worst part is that Kurapika and Bill can't even fight Vincent due to their prince ranking the lowest, as legally Vincent would be the one who has authority. So instead, Kurapika transfers his borrowed little eye to Queen Oito, distracting Vincent and giving Bill just enough time for them to restrain the assassin. To not confess murdering a prince's guard, Vincent instantly swallows a poison and alt F4s himself. Then we get the craziest revelation since the ship departed. Every second Kurapika uses Emperor Time to activate Little Eye or his borrowed abilities, bro loses 1 hour of life every second every time Emperor Time is activated. So the trade-off for being the most broken Nen user on the boat is literally his lifespan, which he has to give up more of in order to gain info on the other princes. But to do that, he will have to find a fly and control it with Sarid's Little Eye. Things get even worse for our gang though, as after Benjamin witnesses what happened to Vincent, he sends a bigger fish, Babim Yana, to go and get rid of Wobble, as they deem Kurapika to be a big threat. But the more puzzling thing is that while Babim Yana is at Wobble's front door, Benjamin also called Kurapika at the same time. If that wasn't enough, the 5th prince Tubeka and 3rd prince Zanglei are also calling. First, Kurapika speaks to Zanglei, who has no men under him that know about Nen and wishes to learn more, so he invites the entire 14th prince gang to his quarters. Before they leave though, Kurapika also talks to 5th prince Tubeka, with whom they form an alliance, also in exchange for teaching them regarding Nen beasts. While they leave to meet Zanglei, Bambiana is asked to stay inside the 14th prince's quarter and wait for them to return. Kurapika explains everything he knows about Nen beasts and the war to Zanglei, who in exchange gives Wobble 2 of his own guards for protection and for choosing to speak with Zanglei first rather than the other 2 princes who contacted them too. However, we all know these guards couldn't be refused by Wobble, as it comes from the son of a queen who ranks the highest, so they are more spies than guards guards if we're being real here. It gets crazier when we realize that one of these guards works for the first queen Unma herself, who favors Benjamin. So this guy and Bambiana are in cahoots within Wobo's camp. It gets even wilder when we consider the fact that all the other princes are also plotting and sending spies to different factions. For example, second Prince Camilla orders the assassination of Hulkenberg first, as she detests his goody two-shoes nature. However, this order was recorded by one of Benjamin's spies within her ranks, which he could use to have Camilla be arrested or eliminated, as her order could amount to treason for targeting a prince. Meanwhile, on tier 5 of the ship, a passenger meets Chrollo Lucifer and remarks that he looks as if he's going to kill someone, suggesting that Chrollo forget his worldly ties. But Chrollo insists that ties are not forgotten, rather they are severed. Bro is still mourning Kurtopi and Shalnark's death, basically. Back to tier 1 though, Kurapika and gang are busy trying to find a fly or an insect they can use to get info on the other princes. It's quite a task to mask what they are doing from the other guards, especially Bambi, who turns out was using N to cover the entire living space, which truly showcases the Nen strength at the hands of Benjamin's men. However, Queen Oito successfully controls a cockroach to 13th Prince Mariam's room, where we witness his Nen beast that has the shape of a giant dragon. As the cockroach makes its way through the vents, we witness something horrifying. One of the Prince Momoze's guards is choking her to death. Oito lunges, screaming at Kurapika to save the little girl, completely revealing to everyone that they have the ability of reconnaissance. But it's too late. Before the guards get to Momoze's room, the 12th prince is already the first casualty of the succession war, not even 24 hours into the voyage. All things are not grim though, because Kurapika's revelation of Nen to the princes have brought them at least 2 weeks while he trains the guards of 10 different princes on how to use basic Nen. This information about learning Nen in 2 weeks completely shocks the 4th Prince Saradnik, because Theta told him that it would take 6 months to use it properly. And even still, he is such a genius that within 12 hours he has mastered Gyo. Like, this took Gon and Killua weeks, suggesting that the 4th Prince is a Nen user classed at 1 in a billion. Mind you, Gon and Killua were 1 in 10 million. Learning this new info, the 4th Prince asks Theta one more time if she's lying while his Nen beast comes over so close to her. With this, she has no choice but to reveal to the prince that there is a more riskier way of unlocking Nen, like Wing did with Gon and Killua. 18 hours have passed since we left the port, with Kurapika passed out for the last 9 hours while Emperor Time was active for 12 hours. This dude is dead, bro. This is the biggest death flag. He is finito by the end of this arc. It seems that Emperor Time can stay active for 3 hours, then he blacks out for 3 times as long once he exceeds that. But the time limit could also be higher or lower depending on the ability taken. With such a high price on his life already paid, Kurapika reassesses how they should use his power, with them choosing to focus on the 4th Prince's quarters now, which ends up being a massive blunder, as the cockroach gets eaten by Saradnik's Nen beasts instantly, making Kurapika lose his advantage once more. It's 9 a.m. on the 2nd day of the voyage now, with the guards of a bunch of the princes showing up to learn Nen at Wobo's quarters. While most are there to learn Nen, some, like the 1st Prince's guard Furikov, is there to learn about the enemy's Nen types and strength. But the most fearsome is this Nen marionette doll known as Silent Majority. Only the person being controlled by it can see the marionette, which currently is Loberi. Apparently, this Nen ability is like a curse, where after activation, if the user doesn't kill someone, the curse of Silent Majority will kill them. So once Loberi sees the marionette and starts freaking out, Silent Majority begins its attacks by killing a guard, while everyone else is left stunned as to what the hell just happened, since no one can see it. With everyone being alerted, they quickly get rid of Silent Majority snakes as all of its Nen dissipates. However, this situation has given the guards and students an excuse to ask for all of the weapons to be returned during Kurapika's classes. Instead, he gives them an ultimatum to adhere to his rules or leave the lesson. Meanwhile, 6th Queen Seiko is accused of the murder and use of Silent Majority, as she was the one who distracted everyone while the guard was killed. But instead of arresting her, the royal army sends an investigator to observe the situation for 72 hours while they interrogate her. Mind you, Seiko is still pretty sus, especially after her daughter's death. She must be furious and is refusing to answer any questions during interrogation. After a quick 15-minute break, it turns out everyone still wants to learn Nen from Kurapika, and so the training begins, where we learn that there are 4 people already amongst the guards who can use Nen. 2 of Hulkenberg's men have awakened it due to already being manipulated by his Nen beast. Lobory's awakened after being controlled by Silent Majority, and the 4th user, however, knows how to hide his aura, showing his experience. After class, one of Hulkenberg's men, Yuhirai, wants to learn about his master's Nen beast, where Kurapika concludes it to be a manipulation type through it having his guards do something when they had fallen unconscious and erased their memories, only leaving a feather mark on them. In room 1013 of the 13th Prince Meryem, just so you guys know, whichever room the number ends in, it's that prince's room. Here, Meryem's beast has grown much larger since the last time we saw it, probably due to his sister's death, causing it to be even more cautious. It's not just the Nen beast being influenced by the 12th's murder though, as Biscuit and Hanzo decide to investigate who was the true murderer. So Hanzo activates his skill number 4, which lets him create a shadow clone that can phase through walls or objects, even floating in the air and being able to kill others. Only limitation being that while it's active, Hanzo's real body is fast asleep. So now he has a way to infiltrate all the other prince's room if he wants to. And that's what he does by going to the cell of Tufti, the former guard of Prince Momose, where he makes him confess to the murder and kills him instantly. As Hanzo returns back to room 1013, he realizes that there is no one there except for Meryem's Nen beast, who is smaller but looks way tougher now, ready to pounce if Hanzo even takes one step further. Leaving him no choice but to leave the room, Hanzo tries to enter Momose's room 1012, thinking that the prince might be there with his mother. But he isn't allowed to, because anytime a prince drops out of the succession war, meaning they die, their room is sealed forever. So instead, Hanzo goes to Kurapika and informs him of the 13th prince's disappearance. But then they get a call from Queen Savanti's top guard, Verge. And what the hell is this? The call is coming from room 1013. I thought there was no one there. It turns out that due to the threat perceived by Meryem's Nen beast after his sister's death at the hands of the guard, it created a barrier inside 1013 to keep the prince safe. Basically, if you're a person who leaves this room and when you come back, you don't see anything that's there. And that's what happened to Hanzo. As Meryem runs out of aura though, the beasts then deactivate with him fast asleep. Since one of the men killed by Silent Majority belonged to Prince Meryem, right now there is no one from his team who is learning Nen from Kurapika. In order to protect the young prince, Biscuit decides to train the men on how to use Nen. But someone else whose manipulator Nen beast is starting to show its true colors is 8th Prince Sale Sale. As bro is chilling with his baddies, the spy guard, Rihan, sent by 1st Prince Benjamin to the 8th, starts to focus on the Nen beast using his own power called Predator. The beast emits white smoke, and the more you breathe in, the more favor they start to show towards Sale Sale. After you breathe a certain amount, a small clone Nen beast pops up on top of your head, and it also starts producing smoke, basically infecting others that breathe it in. The less familiar you are to the prince, the longer it will take for you to become loyal to him. This is a busted power, especially for the succession war, where if Sale Sale locked in, then he could literally control all of the armies of the different princes. However, 70 hours later, the prince's Nen beast finally completes its infection towards the most unlikeliest of allies, turning him towards his side. Seeing this, Rihan activates his Predator once again, which after analyzing an opponent's ability, it can seal that Nen for a certain amount of time. So it instantly eats the prince's Nen beast, giving an opening for another assassin to come in and finish the job. Sale Sale's power was seen as one of the greatest threats, especially to Benjamin, as he could literally become a dictator loved by everyone if his Nen infection spread to the entire country. Early in the 3rd day, 11th Prince Fugetsu notices a familiar door on the wall, resembling the one from her and Kacho's childhood playset. Cautiously, Fugetsu steps through the door and finds herself in Kacho's room. Kacho, startled by her sister's sudden appearance, quietly signals for Fugetsu to leave before Melody notices. However, Melody, attuned to the situation, asks Kacho if she is alright and offers to discuss Nen with her in private. Later into the fourth night, Fugetsu's door reappears, suggesting that it activates once every day. On the other hand, the 10th Prince, Kacho, has her own plans to perform a music show at the next banquet alongside her sister and concocts an epic plan with Melody to make sure both of them leave this war unscathed. However, Kacho wouldn't be there to see it come to fruition, as 5 days later, during the next banquet, the two sisters perform their concert in front of their father and everyone is watching. The plan is for Melody to play her song, which will entrance the whole audience for 3 minutes. That's when the sisters will run to the lifeboats and, using Fugetsu's tunnel, try to get back to Kakin Empire in the known world. However, as they try to leave the ship, they find out that they aren't allowed to, as bunch of hands start coming towards them, stopping the escape. Luckily, Fugetsu manages to create a tunnel in time, and both sisters are seen inside their room lying side by side and smiling. But it's revealed that the real Kacho died on the lifeboat. Turns out that her Nen beast is called Without You, a formless beast whose condition was that if either sister died, then the beast would take their own form and protect the surviving sister, meaning Prince Fugetsu now has 2 Nen beasts alongside her. Back to the third day, Kurapika comes to find the 4th prince's guard, Muyan, dead, which would mean that more people learning Nen from him will suspect the 14th prince. What if this entire teaching thing is a plan for Kurapika to basically kill off all of the prominent members of each faction? However, instead, this plays into their hand, as the lower ranked prince's guards promise to form alliances for safety. Because of their weakness, it's better the longer the stalemate lasts for them too. But across the hall in room 1006, Prince Tyson is engaged in a yap session with her guards about the Book of Tyson. She's basically a religious cult leader whose basis for power stems from this book. As she preaches her words, we start to see these eye-wog thingies around people's shoulders. Her Nen beast is an emitter diffusive levy type, which creates these wogs onto whoever that receives the Book of Tyson. They then collect your aura in exchange for happiness, and then the amount it can gather depends on how thoroughly one has read the gospel. But if you end up breaking the taboo in the book, it will bring you severe punishment. Considering Tyson has a whole army of followers, her aura levels must be insane. You know, those issues Mariam and Momozes were having with running out of aura? Yeah, not with Tyson. And this is kind of the theme with a lot of the princes with large following. But you know, another thing that Tyson has up her sleeve is that she actually gave her Book of Tyson to her mother for it to be given to her father, the king. So if the king has ever read her book, or even like touched or like received that book, there's a possibility Tyson could literally control this man, all right? But it hasn't been confirmed whether he has read it or not. We don't have time to talk about all that though, because just up ahead on the hallway, we enter room 1002, where Camilla confronts Muse, the guard of Benjamin, and tries to force him to kill the first prince. However, bro instead shoots her point blank in the head. As we all presume her to be dead, her Nen beast, Cat's name, shows up, consuming Muse and using his life force to revive Camilla. She wastes no time rushing into Benjamin's room as his man just tried to assassinate her, and Camilla instantly bam bam entire magazine on this dude. Oh shit, yeah, this Prince Benjamin, bro, he was fighting a goddamn lion. You think a little bit of bullet is gonna do anything else? He uses his Nen aura to block her entire magazine, bro. That is aura right there. This man has unlimited aura.
That shit is so disrespectful.
Instead, for this, she is placed under surveillance. As we move up the hallway, we also learn the ability of Zhang Li, the third prince, whose beast drops coins which can be used to grant special abilities or strengths. However, we don't really know of it yet. One of the guards picks it up. He has 1 point, and then later we find out that it increased to 10, but we still don't know what it does. And my dude Zhang Lei, he plans on giving us some saucy info about the last succession war where his father won, so that should be interesting. But you know, Togashi still hasn't written that or drawn that. Maybe we'll get it in the next batch of chapters. Praying. We also learn about the 5th prince to Beppa's Nen Beast, which can create different types of poisons using a host body. But the craziest revelation comes from, you guessed it, 4th Prince Saradnik. Every time this dude is in the manga, I'm locked in, man. All these mafia people, these other princes, bro, easy, just read, move on. But Saradnik, I'm looking at the page, trying to find, oh, what is he up to? What is he planning? Anyway, Saradnik has just taken the water divination test, and turns out he is a specialist. The water literally boiled with the worst stink Theta had ever smelled. This further terrifies her, especially seeing how fast the prince is getting the hang of using Nen. Bro has already surpassed his teacher in a day of learning Nen. In room 1009, Hulkenberg is saddened by his sister's death, where his Nen beast generates an insane amount of aura when him and his men act in unison. The power being displayed here is terrifying, not only to me, but Benjamin's soldier Shikaku, who is there as a spy. So he instantly contacts his master, telling him, do not act on Hulkenberg, because bro could literally end everyone with this level of strength. And since the Nen Beast's tasks are to defend a prince, it'll be nigh impossible to deal with the 9th unless he's the one in the offensive. But as we know, he has no intention of participating in the war. Instead, he keeps trying to talk to the king, visiting his father's room every day, but bro keeps getting turned down by the guards as they can only meet up during the banquets every Sunday. Hulkenberg instead keeps giving his father letters at the door, but on the 4th day, bro shows up with his men, having their guns drawn, finally bursting into the king's chamber. There, he is angry at his father for starting such a game where blood must slay blood. But the king simply says it's all for the sake of Kakin. Hulkenberg, furious at this statement, shoots at his father, but the bullet is blocked by something which seems to be the king's own Nen Beast. So with no choice left, the prince instead shoots himself. However, his Nen Beast stops the bullet. Bro doesn't want to kill his siblings or participate in this gruesome war. He's literally being forced by the tradition his dad put on him. Instead, the king tells Hulk that if he wants to stop the succession war and bring change to Kakin, he can win and become king, then he can change the rules. But right now, he has no choice but to follow the king's whims. So with a new determination, Hulkenberg declares that he will participate and change Kakin for the sake of the people and future. Benjamin, learning of what happened with the 9th and the king, orders his men Shikaku to kill him instantly, as he sees the good prince as one of the strongest players. But there is a small issue. My man's Nen is awakened, and he instantly fires an arrow at Benjamin's assassin, which makes one of his subordinates' consciousness enter the man's body and take control. Next morning, Hulkenberg is curious about Shikaku's consciousness after he hit him with the arrow and lists a few possible outcomes. It was basically destroyed, or it went into his own guard's body. It is still inside his body but suppressed by his guard's consciousness. And finally, it could have gone to someone else or somewhere else. Since this power awakened as soon as he wanted to win the succession war, Hulkenberg assumes that. So he has a hypothesis which we don't get to hear. Instead, he asks his guard inside of Shikaku to Alt F4 himself, which leads to him just respawning back into his own body. This event terrifies the other princes, especially Benjamin, because whenever Hulkenberg uses his ability, a huge rumbling is felt throughout the ship. Meanwhile, in Tier 5, it's revealed that all of the Phantom Troop are here, and a mafia family is demanding money from anyone wanting to get into the cafeteria. Finks easily dispatches the men, and we learn the mafia structure in the Kakin Empire, revealing that Prince Zangle with the ZU Mafia, Saradnik with the Haley family, and Lazarus controls the Chara family. Basically, the Phantom Troop wants to make it to the upper tiers to find Hisoka, so they need assistance from the Mafia, or specifically the Kickbacks Collector. Machi, on the other hand, wants to kill Hisoka on the spot, as he's also aboard the ship. But Chrollo disagrees, hinting that he might have deeper plans regarding Hisoka. Their task right now is to search the Black Whale and find the clown. To do this, they all separate into different teams. Chrollo, Shizuku, and Bonolov are still in Tier 5, with Bonolov using his ability to transform himself. Franklin is just chilling in the cafeteria as he believes Hisoka will just show up on his own to kill them, which is probably correct. Nobunaga, Finks, and Phaeton are currently in Tier 4 working with the Chara family who control Tier 5, and the ZU family who both want to also apprehend Hisoka before he causes chaos, while at the same time making sure the spiders don't go rogue themselves. The next day, a spree of murders start to happen in the lower tiers, with chaos starting to mount quickly, which leads to the team of Nobunaga, Finks, and Phaeton to work together with the two mafia families to find the culprit, which ends up being masterminded by the leader of the Lee family, who's the illegitimate Prince Morena. Her Nen ability allows the men she has kissed to be able to gain levels for every murder. 1 level for normies, 10 for Nen users, and 50 for a prince. Her sole purpose right now is to cause destruction on the ship. She and her men are almost like a wild card, even though the benefactor of the Haley family is actually Saradnik, so by doing these murders, she's actually betraying him and fighting him, and we all know how much Saradnik hates double-crossing wenches. If the Phantom Troop help on dealing with the Haley situation, then the other two mafia families will help them get to the upper tiers where Hisoka might be lurking. Furthermore, Illumi is revealed to be part of the Phantom Troop too, as he was hired by Hisoka before the ship departed for one mission. Illumi must hunt and kill Hisoka alongside the Phantom Troop as well. He also ends up revealing to Mizai Storm and the Hunter Association that the entire troop is aboard the ship, which makes his sister Kaoto mad, but this might be part of Illumi's own game where him and his sis are now getting escorted by Mizai Storm onto Tier 3, which is on full martial law lockdown mode due to the murders. Any and all info about the goings of the ship passes through the Hunter Association, so by being close to them, this will help them find Hisoka faster. While Morena and the Haley Mafia are causing a ruckus, their benefactor, 4th Prince Radnik, is still chilling on Tier 1, continuing his Nen training. As he learns about Morena's antics, he just says he will deal with her once his training is finished, and oh boy, has he been getting stronger. It seems that he has been trying out different weapons and ways to utilize his Nen, while a dark aura forms behind him with another Nen beast separate from his OG guardian spirit forms through just pure instinct, as he dubs it his alter ego. This worries Theta because even still she wants to stop Saradnik from enacting his will upon the world, so she's still searching for a chance to kill him for good. However, now with the second beast, things are getting even more perilous. Imagine this dude, once he masters Hatsu, is GG, man. He'll become unstoppable. So on the night of the banquet, Theta tells the prince to use Zetsu for as long as he can, completely turning off all of his aura and going into deep state of concentration. She uses this moment to create a small aura bullet and fires it straight at his head. To her surprise, bro is in Sigma mode. He doesn't even budge. As the music from Melody's performance rings through the room, Theta realizes that the prince's corpse is gone. And as the guards rush into the room, the prince materializes behind her, explaining to the guards that Theta's gunshot was just part of their training. He says that he didn't flinch even when a Nen bullet came towards him, leaving Theta completely shocked. Theta drops on her knees in utter disbelief, while another guard takes her to rest when the 4th Prince's guardian Nen beast comes to warn her once more. If she tries to pull another stunt and deceive the prince, she will stop being human. The first nick on her cheek by the beast was a warning for her life. The second is a brand, and if she continues the third time, she will face a punishment worse than death. But Theta has not given up. The guard explains to 4th Prince that time skipped due to Melody's music, which caused everyone to be in a trance for 3 minutes. That's why the guards were delayed, which prompts Saradnik to invite Melody to meet him. However, this doesn't explain how he is still alive. We clearly saw him be shot in the head and die. Turns out that Saradnik's Nen ability activates when he enters full Zetsu. In this state, as long as his eyes are closed, he can see 10 seconds into the future while his body relives those 10 seconds. That's how he managed to dodge Theta's bullet, where he knew it was coming and moved out of the way in the future. So when 10 seconds passed and that moment replayed in the present, he was unharmed. Once he masters full Zetsu control to only take him mere seconds, this man is going to be unstoppable. He literally has full future sight up to 10 seconds. It's almost like he enters a future dimension itself. Meanwhile, 5th Prince Tubeppa is on high alert because she realizes that after Saleh Saleh's death, Benjamin's next target is her, as the guard who was guarding the 8th is now guarding her. They switched. So she isn't even coming out of her room as to not be analyzed or seen by anyone. Tubeppa understands that she needs someone very proficient in Nen to protect her. So now her goal is to recruit Kurapika to her cause, which honestly lines up, as Tubeppa has said that she would spare the lower princes once she won. So her goal and Kurapika's goal of protecting Wobble and even Melody's goal of protecting Fugetsu and Kacho, it all lines up with the 5th prince. Meanwhile, on the 10th day, as Benjamin and his men are discussing how to deal with Hulkenberg, a 4th rumbling is heard with their spy Vict cutting his call short, screaming about an arrow. This gives them enough hints to conclude that Hulkenberg's ability is strongest when his men are around. So if they can isolate him, they can win, which is easy as they claim Hulkenberg might have something to do with the killings happening in the lower tiers. So the permit agency takes the prince into custody. Another prince in custody making moves is 2nd Prince Camilla, who apparently has a whole division of curse users who come from the lowest caste of have-nots in the empire, who are deeply indebted to her, giving them a higher position in life. They basically have infiltrated the ranks of most of the princes and can slowly curse them to the point where once they commit the prince's aura is heavily diminished, triggering a state of Zetsu which kills them within hours. However, this process takes over 6 months, which they don't have. So instead, one of them must kill themselves while looking into the eyes of a prince, which triggers the same effect. Meaning, the easiest target they choose is of course 14th Prince Wobble, as they can gain access to him with the pretense of coming for training. But as the day passes, it seems the real target was Prince Fugetsu, who is in a complete state of Zetsu with bugs circling her. Everyone on the ship except Melody and Fugetsu have assumed Prince Kacho died at the lifeboats, which she did, but her Nen Beast has taken her form and they decide to make everyone believe she's dead until the last moment when she can claim the succession war for herself. If everyone thinks Kacho to be dead, then no one will be targeting or scheming against her. Meanwhile, the mafia families are still at it, with the Haley running amok. However, one of their most prominent members, whose Nen allowed them to easily sneak around the lower tiers, is killed by Nobunaga because he assumed the troops had the same goal of destruction of the upper classes as Morena's men, which was furthest from the truth, as the troop doesn't want to destroy the world. They simply want to steal and plunder others for the sake of Meteor City. And this sentiment is highlighted especially in their backstory. After about 15 years before the start of the series, they were just kids who did voiceovers for movie cassettes they found in the landfills. The group was first formed when Chrollo, along with Pakunoda, Shilia, and Sarasa first performed Power Cleaners. This led Uvogin, Phaeton, Finks, Nobunaga, Shalnark, and Franklin to join also. Although Machi was part of the group as well, she hesitated for a while before accepting her role. The name Troop was chosen to reflect the makeup of the group, though the second part of the name did not come yet. One day, Sarasa didn't show up for their regular performance. Chrollo and Uvogin teamed up, and after a long search, they thought of checking the Uga Forest, where they came upon a grim scene. They found tools of torture, a note, and a sack hanging from a tree. Chrollo was the only one who could read the note, but kept its contents to himself. When Uvogin took down the sack, Chrollo opened it to reveal Sarasa's mutilated body. Later, the group attended Sarasa's funeral, and Chrollo spoke with Uvogin about their future, telling him to wait 3 years so he could gather the necessary funds to put his plan into motion. His idea was to create a website that would attract criminals to Meteor City with the hope of identifying Sarasa's killers and taking revenge. During the conversation, the other troop members joined except for Shilia, who decided to leave. The rest chose Chrollo as their leader and agreed to form their group in 3 years. 3 years later, Chrollo officially founded the Phantom Troop alongside Franklin, Uvogin, Machi, Takonoda, Phaeton, Nobunaga, Shalnark, and Finks wasn't present when Chrollo established the spiders, but was there when the group selected Chrollo as their leader. Over time, more members joined, including Bonolovov and Kurtopi. This whole backstory suggests that the troop might have a bit of a grudge against the Mafia because how their friend was tortured suggests that the Mafia might have been involved in maybe creating some very disturbing films using the kids of Meteor City. And considering the Haley Mafia's main moneymaker is human trafficking, there might be a deeper plot being formed by Togashi to have Nobunaga kill one of the most prominent members of the Haley. However, we have no time to waste because we finally get to see Hisoka in Tier 3. He's confronted by the Mafia and is questioned about his identity, to which he reveals that he is indeed Hisoka. However, now after some convincing, he has moved to Tier 1 so as to not cause even more chaos through conflict with the troop in the lower tiers, as that would make the Mafia's job even harder. So now in Tier 1, we have Hisoka, Kurapika, and likely the troop will be making their way there too, while Morena and Saradnik's punishment for her betrayal will also have to be swift. That's where Hunter x Hunter is right now. Hopefully we get some more plot progression other than the Mafia families when the new chapters come up, because I'm tired of these stupid ass Mafia people. All right, like, I'm gonna be honest, making this video, this over 1 hour long video, has been a Herculean task. It has taken me like basically weeks of my time. Oh my god, it's like was 60 chapters, and oh my god, reading all of it and like comprehending all of it, so dense with content, and so much of it just like does not help the current plot. It just feels like fillers. It was getting wild, man. Honestly, made it through. Holy like, finishing this video, you guys don't understand how great this I feel right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna explore some more Hunter x Hunter videos as the chapters come in. Maybe I'll do some chapter reviews. Join us on Patreon and membership, because whenever we don't cover a Hunter x Hunter chapter on the channel, I'll be doing like a mini review on Patreon and members only community on YouTube. So thank you for watching. This has been a long video. Holy crap. Oh, watch this other Hunter x Hunter banger video. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Thank you. Please like the video.